Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. We're very pleased you joined us for our quarterly Small Cap Growth Conference. The next live presentation is from Brand Engagement Network. And Brand Engagement Network is a global leader in AI-powered customer engagement solutions. Please note, attendees may submit questions and view a presenter's availability for meetings by clicking Questions and Book Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Paul Chang. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Brand Engagement Network, which trades on Nasdaq under the symbol BNAI. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Sean, and appreciate the opportunity here. I wanted to address a topic that's, I'm sure, on top of everyone's mind. So we know that DeepSeek made an announcement last week, and it's making quite a bit of headlines. The news about DeepSeek, while it's welcome by us because it highlights a different way to approach generative AI, we've been working in a different way for 3 years already, and the way BNAI has been working is we've been working with smaller language models. It's been designed for efficiency, security, and industry-specific applications. So I don't believe we are the only ones making these commitments, because there are other large corporations who also believe that there isn't just a single way to deliver Gen AI technology, but there are multiple ways to do it, especially if you're targeting your business customers. So who's really leading the AI revolution? And I have a quote here, and it could be somewhat provocative, right? So over a year ago at a dinner event with some investors, there was lots of talk about needing GPUs, because back then the NVIDIA GPUs were, they had quite a bit of shortage. They were also talking about having to build data centers to house those servers. And then to power those data centers, they were talking about having to build power plants to provide electricity to run the data centers. And at that point, I raised my hand and I said, wait a minute here. You guys are talking about really only one way to develop and deploy Gen AI solution. There are many other ways to do it, including not having to rely on GPUs, which raised some eyebrows. And at that point, we were still a relatively unknown company, not even public yet. So I think the room decided, interesting idea, but probably not relevant at that time. Now, as DeepSeek has discussed that they were using lower grade GPUs to do the training, I absolutely applaud their effort, because it is shining a spotlight on different approaches to Gen AI. However, they were only optimizing training of their large language model, which is still 650 billion parameters, for those of you who are interested in these numbers. What BNAI has done is we've been able to deliver secure and accurate Gen AI solution based on a 7 billion parameter large language model, or we call it small language model. And our system is so radically efficient that we can run on CPUs if we chose to. Meaning, yes, we do training on GPUs, but we can actually run on CPUs. That brings a host of possibilities in terms of how users can interface with our technology, not to mention, obviously scalability becomes less of an issue, and significant cost savings. Now, we are able to do this while not compromising on our security. So our entire platform is ring-fenced, and we ensure regulatory and privacy compliance, because we are in the healthcare space and in other industries that still care quite a bit about data privacy, data security. So we ensure the rigors that have been put in place to pass the HIPAA regulations can still be applied to other industries. Now, I mentioned a few industries here because we are purpose-built for specific industries. So as I mentioned, we're tailored for healthcare, finance, and automotive. Those are the three go-to-market industries at the moment. But clearly, our solutions are horizontal solutions, meaning it could be applied anywhere. We are just choosing to focus and concentrate on the three industries where we have the greatest amount of traction and frankly, partnerships and relationships. So as you may have interacted with ChatGPT and DeepSeek, they're essentially chatbots, right? For Ben's solution, as you can see on the pictures on the left, we have dynamic 3D avatars. And we use essentially game engine software to develop these avatars that have lifelike representation, as well as can show emotions and utilize gestures to really mimic a sort of human-like engagement. Because at the end of the day, if the people don't want to engage with any technology, because let's say the chatbots are rather dull and boring, then they're just simply not going to use it. So we have avatars that can be utilized with our chat functionality to provide that sort of the human touch and human-like engagement. The other differentiation that I want to highlight is because our platform is ring-fenced and because it's small, it could absolutely function offline, meaning without internet. That is something that you may not have heard because most companies are using Gen AI where they're scrolling through the internet and trying to come up with the most appropriate response based on the contents available. Whereas for us, the content is already delivered to us by our customers. They're vetted and they're categorized, and then they're put in a place where we can easily retrieve those responses. So we can operate completely offline. Of course, we operate online and we deliver our solution online as well. So I want to share an example here. So let's think of a patient journey in a pharmacy. So whether you're in the pharmacy physically or maybe you get a digital print, you might be getting some alerts. And maybe those alerts are for maybe getting the flu vaccine as an example. So when you click on those, let's say SMS text, you're going to get launched into a website of the pharmacy chain. Now, the website is going to have lots of information, but I would say it's information overload, right? Because you may be just trying to get some simple answers, but you have to sift through paragraphs and paragraphs of material to try to get to the information that you're looking for. And in many cases, the content is very generic. So they're not targeted to anyone, any region, or any types. So you're essentially it's up to you to determine what information is relevant, what information is not relevant, and then at what point can you make a decision, or do you have to call the pharmacist? And I think that's where people realize that the traditional way of doing the outreach and educating consumers is limited. And I think this is where the conversational AI really comes into play. And what I mean by conversational AI is instead of launching into a website, you could be launched into a session with our AI agent. And as you can see here, AI agents can be launched on a phone, it could be launched on a desktop. And it's essentially an interactive avatar agent that has the ability to understand the intent of your question and be able to retrieve validated, verified, proven information from either the FDA or CDC or the manufacturers of the drugs, to be able to provide guidance for you to be able to make an informed decision about particular drugs or vaccines. The beauty of this solution is you're not limited to any scripts or keywords like a traditional chatbot would. You can just have a natural dialogue as if you are having a conversation with your pharmacist. The other beauty of this solution is you won't get a busy signal. As we all know, the staffing at many of the major pharmacies have been challenged. They tend to be overworked. They're busy filling scripts and making sure those scripts are correct and safe. So sometimes it may be difficult to get a hold of a pharmacist to even ask a very simple question. Here, we can address the simple questions as well as very complex questions, because all of the information that will be accessible by the pharmacist can also be available to this AI platform. And as I mentioned, the medication advisor, as we're calling it here, is based on FDA as well as leading industry resources that have been fully vetted by our customers. In this case, let's say it's the pharmacy chains. So you have the input questions going through our AI technology. We're interpreting the intent. We go through the validated, curated material, retrieve the correct responses, and then we put it in a natural response back to the user, and we produce the output. The other advantage of this type of solution is in the future, you can certainly integrate with other systems. So for example, we may want to integrate with the pharmacist scheduling system so that you could, in fact, make an appointment during the session so that you don't have to go to another web page or have another conversation in order to be able to complete the task of setting an appointment. Now, I realize that this is an eye chart, but I wanted to share this because this is quite important to highlight the the difference in optimizing one component of AI platform, such as the large language model, versus optimizing the entire user experience. So if we go back to the DeepSeek announcement, what they've done is they've optimized the training for the large language model. So when you see these boxes here, you see that large language model is an important component in generative AI, but it is still only one component of generative AI. And within that component, they've really only optimized the training portion of it. Here, what we're claiming is we have developed a full stack, meaning the front end with the user interface, the middleware where we can integrate to other systems and be able to complete tasks and be integrated into the business processes. And then we have the backend layer, which has obviously the large language model, or in our case, the small language model, but we also use a retrieval generation. We do some fine tuning, and there's a bit of industry knowledge that needs to go into this portion. The point of this is that you don't want to just optimize one component and perhaps not optimize or make it less optimal for all of the other components. When you have the full stack available and within your control, then you are able to optimize the entire stack for an experience that a user is expecting. So the front end, the middleware, the back end layer all work harmoniously to provide a seamless experience to the user and be able to provide the engaging dialogue that the user is expecting and the insights that the companies are desiring. Now, as I said, we are going to meet the users where they are, but we are also going to meet the companies where they are. So for many of our customers, their initial entree into our platform is really through a community cloud, because it might be just demos or maybe small pilots that we're running, and we are able to leverage the sort of the shared resources to provide lowest point of entry and be able to still test out some of the key functionality and measure some of the benefits. Once the company wants to maybe progress and want to have a more dedicated hardware, but still using a cloud infrastructure, then we can offer a private cloud offering to be able to provide the additional sort of security and privacy of having a dedicated hardware, but still being able to not need to build data centers, but just access all of the services through a cloud. However, interesting thing that I've learned over the recent months is many companies are actually asking us for on-premise deployment. And this is, I would say, fairly common for businesses that are in the healthcare space, where they have private patient information. They want to ensure that is always fully protected with little or no chance of ever leaking out to the internet or any other external sources that don't need to see that data. So on-premise solution, as I mentioned, we are completely ring-fenced, so we could actually run it on a local server. We could run it in conjunction in a data center and be able to provide the same performance, same resilience, but in a much more private, secure deployment. Now, if some of you have been following our journey and progress from having de-SPAC'd early in 2024 until now, we made an announcement to acquire a company called Cataneo, who is essentially an ERP system for the ad tech industry. And BNAI and Cataneo have many ways to potentially engage. And I'm just sharing one example of that here, where our AI, conversational AI, could be deployed through the Cataneo platform and to be able to provide helpful, insightful, timely information or offers to users who opt in. And this is where one of the holy grails of digital advertising is what's called attribution. We can provide 100% attribution where it's appropriate. We are able to integrate our AI system with their ad tech platform and be able to provide services to both the publishers and the brands, as well as to users who are taking advantage of this dynamic conversational offer. So the example I share here is, when they're driving on a freeway, and if their fuel is low, and if our system is able to detect that because of our relationship with some certain OEMs, we are able to maybe send an offer verbally for some fuel options. Here we have, as an example, Exxon, Chevron, and Shell. And if the user has a preference to one of those, they could essentially articulate that. I'd rather get gas from Shell. And we are able to essentially provide the coupons or QR codes that they can use to get the discounts, or whatever the offer may be, and be able to have all of this seamlessly integrated. And I think this is the power of incorporating Gen AI into a somewhat traditional now digital ad tech platform. And I believe this is going to potentially change the way that brands, publishers, consumers, and other tech companies learn how to engage their customers in a more meaningful, insightful, and relevant way. Now, I wouldn't be able to do any of this without an experienced team working with me. So myself, I've been at IBM for over 18 years, essentially doing a very similar task, which is taking these leading edge technology and creating markets for it, and being able to deploy the solution and provide value to our various clients. And prior to IBM, I worked for various different startups. So I've actually come back a full circle to be able to work in a startup environment, because BNAI, while we are a public company, we are still behaving very much like a tech startup. We are able to make decisions quickly, be agile, and quite focused on developing a very robust platform. With me is Waleed Kiari, who recently joined us as a CFO and COO, who has vast experience in the banking industry, specifically in the software tech space. So his relevant experience is very helpful and appropriate for the need of the company. And then you see the various other operational team, as well as our esteemed board of directors. So I want to just kind of summarize. I've said a lot here, and I talked about various different differentiation along the way, but I wanted to kind of summarize our key points. So we are positioned to capture a very large opportunity in the AI space. And I think everyone would agree that this is potentially very large opportunity. It's really a matter of sort of the timing. And I believe with DeepSeek's announcement, basically demonstrating that you can actually train language models very cost effectively and still be able to have accurate responses. We've taken that 2 steps further by not only optimizing the large language model, but we are optimizing the entire stack and the entire user experience. We have, proven innovation and technology. So we actually have quite a few patents to our name, 21 granted and 27 pending patents, and we are applying for more patents every year as our research team is generating very innovative approaches to creating a safe and private AI platforms. Industry versatility. We have AI-powered solutions that are targeted to specific industries. And again, when I mentioned our small language model, that is how we could make the model small, yet effective, because we don't have to have our AI agents be an expert in everything, right? So if it's a healthcare expert or automotive expert, well, it really doesn't need to understand other industries or things like maybe history or weather or other non-relevant information. So the language model is going to be very focused on the automotive industry or very focused on healthcare industry. And now you see sort of the recipe for efficiency in terms of how we are able to drive accurate responses without having to have a massive large language model behind it. And as I mentioned, commitment to trust and security. This is our, I would say, core ethos at Ben, because we know no user wants to use any system, any digital system, if they feel like their personal data is being compromised. So we prioritize transparency, security, and reliability. And I think being able to pass the HIPAA compliance is one sign of that. But we are continuing to ensure that our system is the most secure, is the most private, We need to earn the trust of every user and the companies that are servicing those users. And then our leadership. I think while DeepSeek made headlines last week, we've been working on this technology for 3 years. And in fact, 6 months ago, we published an article that discusses how GPUs may not be necessary to run the systems. And perhaps you can run these smaller systems on CPUs. And I know that's provocative to maybe even controversial, but that is something that we've been able to demonstrate. And so we know that there are many different ways to develop and deploy Gen AI solutions out there. And with that, I believe my time is up, and I think we will go into some Q&A here. Okay, so let me see. Apologies here, I'm just kind of scrolling through some of the questions. So one of the questions is, do you have any healthcare clients, and what is an example of an application? And I think I shared the sort of the interaction with a pharmacy, especially something around, let's say, vaccine hesitancy, be able to provide information, and at the end of the session be able to make an appointment. I mean, I think that is where these agentic AI systems are headed, and we are well ahead of the curve, having already done some integration, and now it's at a point where we are looking to deploy it in wider scale, so that we can start to measure some of the benefits and be able to have direct comparison with the existing methodology versus this Gen AI based solutions. Let's see. How does Ben view Salesforce's new massive agent force initiative? Do you see this as an increased competition in healthcare and auto verticals? I've worked for a lot of startup companies. And my view is when big companies like Salesforce are jumping into the space, I think this is good news for all technology providers, including Ben. Clearly, we're much smaller, but we're also very focused. We're not trying to solve problems for everyone or every industry out there. We are trying to be very targeted, and we're trying to be very good at what we do, and we do it efficiently, and we know we can deliver value. And I think at the end of the day, that's how small companies needs to compete against larger companies, because we definitely don't have the resources or the reach that they have, but we know our core technology can stand up against anyone's technology out there. So go-to-market strategy, what is it? And the channels. So it's a great question. So I mentioned that our use cases or our applications are actually horizontal in nature, meaning it can be applied to any industry. But then because we are a small company, we go to market vertically, even though our applications are horizontal. So that's a little bit of a software lingo, but if you understand that, it means we can go to apply this technology anywhere. But because we're focused on a couple industries, we want to make sure that we get our foot in the door and provide value and validation in order for us to move into the other industries. Just a couple more questions here. Okay, so I think this other question is, BNAI could play in many industries. How are you focusing the company? So, yep, great question. I answered that even before I read that one. Milestones for 2025. I mean, I think we've been pretty transparent about what we want to do. We want to expand in our existing footprint in the healthcare, in the automotive. And then, obviously we made the announcement around Cataneo acquisition, and that is going to get us into a new arena around digital ad technology. And I think you'll see that, let's say, sector completely transform in the very near future. I think the traditional one-way ads, I think that those days are going to be numbered as soon as Gen AI can be put in its place. So with that, I know I'm 5 seconds over, so perhaps we can conclude the session.